What is going on a Thursday night? Thanks for joining me as always. Crafts and Kickoffs, the podcast. We talk football, we drink beer, we have alcoholic beverages, or if you like drinking soda, water, whatever you're drinking, enjoy it tonight as we get ready for week 11 of this NFL season. I will kick off by asking you, as I always do, what you're drinking. What you drinking tonight? Amy jumps in and says she has a Viva Tequila Seltzer Watermelon. Cheers. Cheers, Amy. Appreciate you stopping by. Charlie jumps in with a $10 super chat. Long Trail Ale. That's a very good beer. Long Trail is a good beer. I've had that plenty of times, Charlie. So enjoy your Long Trail tonight, and thank you for the $10 super chat. It is very much appreciated. Tonight, I am drinking a Bock beer, and this is from Narragansett Brewery. Trying to make sure that it comes through, but I guess the color's a little funky, because it's green. But Narragansett Brewery. This is from Providence, Rhode Island, of course, and the Bock beer. It's a fantastic Bock. It's 7% alcohol level, so ABV is 7%. You can check it out. It's the Narragansett Brewery Bock beer. I will have my first sip before we get rolling with tonight's news, and we start with somebody getting fired this week. That is not great, but the Bock beer is fantastic from Narragansett Brewery. Justin, TF Patriot, says, unfortunately not drinking anything. I'm currently sick. A lot of people sick over the past couple of weeks. Hopefully you get better, Justin. I appreciate you stopping by. All right, let's start with story number 5. The Chicago Bears have fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. It happened this week. Waldron has been replaced by Thomas Brown. The Bears offense had been absolutely awful the past couple of weeks. They scored 3 points against the Patriots defense at home in Chicago. They scored 3 points. So when you look at this decision to fire Shane Waldron, the reason why it made my top 5 list this week is not because of Shane Waldron, but it's because of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick overall in the draft. And the Bears obviously felt like they had no other option but to get rid of Waldron because Caleb, we talked about him a few weeks ago. He was on a hot streak, 2 or 3 games where he was really hot. He was playing good football, and then he regressed. He didn't play well against Washington 3 out of the 4 quarters. Then he played against, Arizona, and they didn't play well. And then he did not play well whatsoever against the Patriots. So the Bears felt like they had to make a move. They had to do something with Caleb regressing. When you look at the play calling by Waldron, there were some weird play calls. Game against the Patriots, he has Caleb Williams in a shotgun, and he's like sprinting out to his left. No receivers on that side of the field are open. There's nothing happening. It's just a really weird play call. And the expectations, let's be honest, the expectations were high for Chicago. I mean, you look at the weapons, Keenan Allen, right? You draft Rome Odunze. You use the number 1 pick on Caleb Williams. You have DJ Moore from the trade with Carolina. You have DeAndre Swift in your backfield. This Chicago offense should have been doing something. They should have been doing much more than what they were doing. Cole Kmet is a very good tight end, and not just because he's from the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Cole Kmet's a very talented guy. They weren't getting the football to Cole Kmet. They were not getting the football to him. And when you look at the numbers, I mean, they just weren't good. Chicago, 24th in points per game, 30th in yards per game, 31st in yards per play, 28th in EPA per dropback. They had the 4th highest pressure rate that they were giving up in football, 24th in rushing success rate. That was bad. 28th in motion, so they weren't very creative. So they weren't throwing the football well. They weren't running the football well. They were allowing a ton of pressure. They were 28th in motion, so not much creativity whatsoever. I mean, what else could go wrong? So they had to fire Shane Waldron at this point. They had to make that change. And so they made the change. And the players apparently quit on him. If you read some of the reports, Mark Silverman, ESPN 1000, radio host, he posted on Twitter, after talking to a few people with knowledge of the situation, players went to Coach Matt Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles asking them to make a change at OC. Players were quitting on Shane Waldron. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, he wrote that in September, tight end Mercedes Lewis told Jay Glazer of Fox that multiple players went to Waldron directly asking for him to coach them more aggressively. I think it was DJ Moore. I saw him with the media this week. They asked DJ Moore about Waldron. He said, We knew we needed to make adjustments offensively, but we would wait until halftime to make those adjustments offensively. So it was a bleep show in Chicago offensively over the past several weeks. They make the change. Now, how will this impact the future of Chicago? Let's not forget, they just went through the whole Justin Fields experience. They've gone through a bunch of coaches. They've gone through a bunch of OCs. So what in the world now does Chicago do? I would imagine you target an offensive coordinator. My buddy Tim down in Virginia Beach, he was texting me on Sunday. I watch the Patriots. He watches the Bears. He's from the Chicago area. We were texting back and forth, and we were talking about Ben Johnson. He said, look, they got to back the Brinks truck up to Ben Johnson. I don't disagree. You got to bring in an offensive coach as the head coach because it's not working out with Eberflus. 2 birds, 1 stone. Get rid of the head coach. Bring in somebody who can make those play calls offensively, who can take care of Caleb Williams, and see what you can make happen over the next couple of years. So whether it's Ben Johnson or it's Liam Cohen down with Tampa Bay, Bobby Slowick seems to be a little less popular nowadays down in Houston, but he's another name. The offensive coordinator of Arizona, was it Drew Pitzig or whatever? That's another name that you could look at as a possibility. Target an offensive coordinator as your next head coach, bring him in, and let him start working with Caleb Williams ASAP once this season is over. In Chicago, they have to get it right. You do not want a turnstile at offensive coordinator with Caleb Williams. You don't want Caleb Williams working with, 3 new offensive coordinators in 3 years. He's already working with his second. You're halfway through his first season. He's already dealing with his second offensive coordinator. You're going to bring somebody else in next year, I would imagine. That will be offensive coordinator number 3 in his first 2 seasons. Already behind the 8 ball. You don't want to do it. You do not want to do that to Caleb Williams. You do not want that turnstile. And you wonder, are things even worse? Because back to Mark Silverman of ESPN 1000, he also posted that there have also been a few veteran players requesting Tyson Bagent to start. So according to Silverman, there are players on the Bears that want Caleb Williams benched. And if that is true, that's a disaster. Because you look at Caleb, one of the questions about Caleb was his leadership skills. Was he going to be a leader for these guys? If some of those veterans on that team are done with Caleb already, it's not a good sign. And I say if, in capital letters, if that is the case. The Bears have to get guys who believe in Williams. You're not going to deal Williams. You're not going to release Williams. He is going to be your franchise quarterback if your plan plays out perfectly. And you're not going to sit there and say you're done with him after 1 year. No way, no how. So you have to get players on that roster that believe in the young quarterback. You've got to get an OC/head coach that knows what he's doing. You've got to take care of your top priority, and that is the quarterback position. I mean, you can't restart at quarterback anytime soon. You made the decision. You said goodbye to Justin Fields. Caleb Williams is your guy. You've got to do everything within your power to make that work. All right. That's story number 5 this week. Let's jump to some super chats. We got a bunch of super chats. Greg Fields jumps in with a $9.99. Let's call it $10 super chat. I always feel like I'm, criticizing the people that put $9.99 instead of $10. Like Charlie had a $10 super chat. Just call it 10. I hate saying $9.99 for the love of God and all that is holy. A glass of Merlot. Oh, Greg Fields with the glass of Merlot. Not hating it. I'm not a big wine fan. My wife is. Kelly loves her wine. I'm not big on the wine. I'm big on the beer as I drink Bach beer from Narragansett tonight. But we accept all beverages in this bar at this show. So, Greg, thanks for joining us with that glass of Merlot. 10 euros, I think that is, Thomas, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. 10 euros. Morning, Nick. I'm guessing I'm right. 1 in. Austria. Got a zip of Danish Navy rum. Excellent stuff. Anybody out there have Danish Navy rum before? Let me know. Have any of you have tried that in your life? Excellent stuff. Keep up the good work. When you visit Europe, don't forget to stop here too. I want to visit Europe, Thomas. The wife and I are planning to visit Europe at some point soon. We were supposed to go this past summer. I want to go to Germany. I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to Italy. I want to go to a bunch of places, but I want to really go to Germany first and foremost, because I feel like Germany is a place that's close to my heart, even though I've never been there, right? Brats, beer, from what I've heard, pretty cool people. Thank you, Thomas, for the $10 super chat. Chris Chapman jumps in, $10 super chat. Bud Light for me tonight. Looking forward to the podcast. Well, thank you, Chris. Hopefully, I meet your expectations with this pod tonight. Nothing wrong with a Bud Light, my man, especially on a Thursday night. Nothing wrong with it. I appreciate it. I drank Bud Light for a long time. Then I randomly made the switch to Miller Lite. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And I've kind of stood by Miller Lite for the last few years. Anonymous, $20 super chat. Watching at work, so water for me until I get home for Thursday night football. Then I will steal whatever my roommate has in the fridge. Well, at least you are honest, Anonymous. And I don't know if your roommate watches. If not, tell that roommate to watch this program. But at least you're honest with the people. I appreciate the $20 super chat, my man. Keep on throwing those super chats in. We will get to your comments, questions, and also let me know what you are drinking. Meanwhile, don't forget, do a couple things for us here at the show. If you want us to continue to have this party on Thursday nights, I plan on continuing. But you can help us out by liking on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like on Facebook and Twitter as well, but especially YouTube to beat that algorithm. Click that thumbs up as you watch on YouTube. Also, don't forget to throw some comments in. What are you drinking? What are your thoughts? Some of the bigger storylines in the NFL this week. How do you feel about those stories? Throw in some comments. Those also attack that algorithm. And subscribe. Trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble. We are literally 2 weeks away from Turkey Day. We're less than 100 subscribers away. We've kind of slowed the pace a little bit over the last week or so. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that notify bell. You could always help us out. All right. Story number 4 of the week. Lamar Jackson. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson for a minute, because I feel like Lamar Jackson is so good, and we're so used to Lamar Jackson being so good, especially during the regular season, that people are somewhat overlooking what this young man is doing in Baltimore. So I wanted to shine a light on Lamar Jackson and where he is so far, because we talk about Patrick Mahomes, we talk about Josh Allen. Lamar is the best quarterback so far in the 2024 season. And I don't think it's necessarily close. When you look at it statistically, Lamar is second in passing yards. He's first in touchdowns. He's first in passer rating. He's first in yards per attempt. He's first in EPA. By the way, when you look at EPA, Lamar Jackson's EPA this season, expected points added, is 112.8. The closest quarterback to Lamar Jackson's EPA this year is 74.4. Lamar Jackson, 112.8. Number 2 is 74.4. That tells you how big of a gap there is between Lamar Jackson, what he's doing so far this year, and many of these other quarterbacks. He's also first in QBR. He's tied for the second fewest interceptions this year. He's only thrown 2 picks. I mean, the guy is on an absolute freaking heater. Now, Derrick Henry helps. I was wrong about that. I wasn't sold on the Derrick Henry fit, but Henry's been tremendous. He's got 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's averaging more than 6 yards a carry. Derrick Henry is doing devastating things against defenses with the Ravens offense. The way that Jackson's playing, the way that Henry's running, this offense, no joke. And you can't look past the targets that Lamar has now. They have improved wide receiver on the roster. Zay Flowers, legitimate. Rashad Bateman has improved a little bit. They just added Deontay Johnson via a trade. They still have Mark Andrews, reliable when they throw to him. This Ravens offense is no joke. Ravens are 7-3. They're second in the AFC North right now. The biggest question, and this is going to remain a question, and I know it's unfair to Lamar Jackson to a point, but it is what it is. Can he step up in the postseason? Can he make those big throws when you need him to absolutely make those big throws? Because he has fallen short, sometimes just short, in the biggest games. He has fallen short in the playoffs. He has not gotten his team to a Super Bowl And he has been one of the best quarterbacks during the regular season for years now. For years. And he's putting it all together this season. So the two questions about the Ravens: will Lamar Jackson step up in the postseason? And number two, can their pass defense hold up? Their pass defense, it's been bad. All right, what are you drinking on a Thursday night? I am drinking a Narragansett Brewery Bach beer. 7% is the ABV. I appreciate every single one of you. Cheers to all of you. Slancha, whatever you want to say. Enjoy your Thursday night as we get ready for Thursday Night Football. Week 11 already. Week 11 already. We're like, less than 2 months away from the end of the regular season. It's crazy how this season is flying by. So let me know what you're drinking on a Thursday night. Getting you ready for Week 11. Story number 3. What in the blue hell are the Colts doing? What are the Colts doing? If I were a Colts fan, I would be losing my ever-loving freaking mind. 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Colts decide to bench Anthony Richardson. We talked about it on this podcast. You can go back to the archives and listen to the podcast when we talked about Anthony Richardson being benched. It made no sense to me, because what you need to do if you're Indianapolis is evaluate your young quarterback. He's a very, very raw, talented quarterback. He hasn't played a lot of football. He was banged up all last year, injuries. And you have Anthony Richardson. He is supposed to be your future. And you decide to bench him when he hasn't played a ton. You put Joe Flacco in. Shane Steichen, the head coach, comes out and says, well, we're going to play Joe Flacco because he gives us our best chance to win right now. How'd that work out for you? I'll answer it. Not too well, Shane. Not too well, my friend. So you sat who is supposed to be the future of the organization and franchise. You sat that guy because you felt desperate to win some games. Joe Flacco came in. He didn't play much better. The Colts aren't winning. So what happens now? They go back to Anthony Richardson. Everybody drink for the Indianapolis Colts. If you're a Colts fan, you've probably been drinking all year long, because how in the world does this make any sense? It doesn't to me. And I hope it doesn't make any sense to you. Richardson is back starting this week. I mean, what are we doing? If you are the Colts, what are you doing? You just benched and pretty much embarrassed your young quarterback. You went to Flacco. Things didn't change. Now you're stuck going back to Richardson. Where do you think Richardson's head's at right now? Where do you think what is he thinking right now? Do you think he's happy? The staff looks desperate. You look so desperate. And actually, you look sorry. You look desperate and sorry. You bench your young quarterback out of desperation. You were worried about the right now when you should not have been worried about the right now. The right now didn't work out for you, so now you got to go back to the kid that you just benched, young man. And you just look desperate. You look indecisive. I mean, if I'm in that Colts locker room, I'm looking around wondering if the coaching staff knows what the hell they're doing. Like, wait a minute, you just told us that Joe Flacco 2 or 3 weeks ago gave us the best chance to win. Now you're benching Flacco. Were you wrong? Did you make a mistake? How do you feel about that now? Not too great. The idea, like, can we all agree that Anthony Richardson is very likely the same exact quarterback he was 2 weeks ago? I don't know how much could change within 2 or 3 weeks, especially if he's not getting a ton of snaps at practice, which you have to believe he wasn't getting a ton of snaps at practice because you went to Joe Flacco. Flacco's QB1 at that point. Flacco's getting the vast majority, if not all, of the reps during practice week. So what has changed the last 2 or 3 weeks? Nothing. I can't imagine he's going to be a much different quarterback when he walks out onto the field. And it makes the first decision to bench him look even worse than it did at the time. And in real time, I said it was a brutal decision. Made no sense. The Colts season, it's on the line. They're 4-6. And if they fail to make a run, I bet you that Richardson will become the scapegoat. But if I'm Shane Steichen, who had a good year last year, first season as the Colts head coach, I'm looking behind me now. I'm worried if I'm Steichen because this quarterback situation, what you have done the last month, it's embarrassing. Looks like you have no clue what you want to do. And that's not good. That's not good whatsoever. You know, the team, if you're an organization, you've got to decide short-term or long-term. Are you riding with your young quarterback? Are you riding with Anthony Richardson through the tough times because you need to evaluate him and figure out who he truly is at the NFL level? Or do you bail on the young man and go to Joe Flacco? They bailed and went to Joe Flacco. And then that backfired, and now you got to go back to the young quarterback and hope that he hasn't lost his confidence. Short-term or long-term, what's the point? What are the Colts trying to do? If I'm the Colts, I'm trying to look long-term. You're not competing for a championship. The Colts are not winning a Super Bowl. Not anytime soon. So what are you doing? What's the point? Is it to win right now, or is it to evaluate the young quarterback and build and develop? The Colts, Shane Steichen picked the wrong lane. And I don't know if it's because Jim Irsay wanted it to happen or not. I mean, we got Jim Irsay's daughter on the sidelines with a headset and a play sheet. That happened. Look it up. Embarrassing. The owner's daughter is on the sidelines with a play sheet and a headset, standing right next to the head coach. And now that head coach has flip-flopped that quarterback yet again. How do you believe in that? If you're a Colt, how do you believe in what's going on with that program right now? All right, don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by Turkey Day. We got 2 weeks to do it. We got under 100 subscriptions to hit. So tell your friends. If your friends are NFL fans, which pretty much everybody is an NFL fan, tell them about this podcast. If they like beer, they like beverages, crack open a beverage, sit back, and let's talk some football. Throw your comments in. Click that thumbs up on YouTube. Let me know with the comments. What do you make? What do you make of the Colts flip-flop at quarterback? I think it's embarrassing. All right, let's get to story number 2. I talked about the Colts not winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. Are you guys and girls, gals, are you believing in the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you think the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender? I'm sitting right next to you at the bar right now. I'm asking you that question. Do you think the Steelers are a legitimate Super Bowl contender? How do you feel about this team? I was skeptical weeks ago, right? We talked about Russell Wilson. The Steelers deciding to start Russell Wilson over Justin Fields. I said, man, oh man. Yeesh. That's kind of risky. It's kind of risky. By the way, Snoopy says no. Doesn't believe in the Steelers. Mike Gray says, yep, believes in the Steelers. Christopher jumps in. No, just a playoff contender. So I was questioning the move to Russell Wilson. However, if you watched weeks ago, because I was concerned that Russell Wilson was washed, I did give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt. And I said at the time, if there's any head coach that deserves the benefit of the doubt for making this kind of a change, it would be Mike Tomlin. Because we can talk about Mike Tomlin all day. He's awful in the playoffs. But I do truly believe Mike Tomlin almost always has his finger on the pulse of his locker room. Remember Antonio Brown, right? When they were like, see ya to Antonio Brown, and people were wondering why in the world are they saying goodbye to Antonio Brown? We found out rather quickly why Mike Tomlin was out on Antonio Brown. So I did give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt, making that change from Fields to Wilson, because he knows his team. He tends to understand what the guys are thinking, and he's a great communicator, all of that stuff. Well, now you look up. Pittsburgh's in first place in the AFC North. They're 7-2. They got a big win last week against Washington. You look at their defense, it's kind of just typical Pittsburgh defense. It's what you expect it to be. So the Steelers' defense is legitimate. Their defensive line is no joke. But let's talk about Russell Wilson. Because Russell Wilson, since taking over, his passer rating is 105.9. Now, he's not qualified to be ranked above, with everybody else because he hasn't played enough games. He hasn't started enough games. But if Russell Wilson did have enough snaps, did have enough games to be qualified, he would be third right now in passer rating. He's playing well. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Let me do the math. That's 6 touchdowns to every pick. 6-to-1 ratio. My mom would be proud if she were watching this. So 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. Now he still takes sacks. He's not the most accurate guy. If you look at his statistics, he's not very accurate, but he's playing well, especially given what you anticipated he would look like. I mean, last year in Denver, he looked washed. He looked washed towards the end of his Seattle career. I think there's a few things here to talk about. Number one, the Steelers, they have found talent that fits Russell Wilson's strengths. What do I mean by that? Russell Wilson throws the football downfield as good as anybody. He's got that weird kind of moon ball, right? He's had it his entire career. He scrapes the sky with his downfield throws. And what the Steelers have is they've got now 2 after the trade for Mike Williams, which is why I like the trade of Mike Williams. We talked about it after the trade deadline. Now you have 2 guys who can make contested catches downfield, right? You've got Pickens, you've got Mike Williams. Those 2 receivers work perfectly for the strengths of Russell Wilson because we saw it last week, Mike Williams, right? You chuck it downfield, you throw that moon ball, you go one-on-one with those guys on the outside. Wilson's going to take a shot downfield. And Pickens has crazy hands. And Williams, when he's healthy and engaged, is a talented guy. So they've done a good job marrying their wide receiver talent to what their quarterback does best. And it just makes a lot of sense with how they've put that together. And when you think about downfield throws, it's not a surprise that Russell Wilson, if he were, allowed to be qualified, if he played enough, Russell Wilson would be top 3 in the NFL in yards per attempt. So he's going to throw downfield. He's going to throw the pill down the field. He's going to test your defense. He's going to test that secondary. He's going to believe in Mike Williams. He's going to believe in George Pickens. And he's going to say, hey, look, you go one-on-one with our guys, I'm throwing it. And most of the time, you're going to get one-on-one from one of those 2 guys, right? I mean, you got those 2 on the outside. One of them is going to likely get a one-on-one matchup. Wilson's going to read it. He's going to understand. He's going to chuck the ball. He's going to throw that moon ball up and say, my guy's going to win. And so you've got the talent that marries with the quarterback. And it's kind of the same plan, right? If you're the Steelers, their plan is run the football, have some big plays downfield, and make sure your defense is really good and your special teams is good. Are they Super Bowl contenders? I need to see more from Russell Wilson over time. I need to see if this is just, a good start or if Wilson will play this kind of football moving forward. I'm not there yet. Huge game. Huge game for the Steelers on Sunday against Baltimore. We're all thinking about the next game I'm going to talk about, but don't overlook Steelers-Ravens. It's a big game. And Lamar Jackson historically has not played well against Pittsburgh. It's a big game. It's a big game for both teams. All right, let's jump to story number 1 as we get ready for Thursday Night Football Week 11. Chiefs at the Bills. This is possibly the biggest game of the year when you think about the ramifications. Chiefs at the Bills, Mahomes versus Allen, right? You've got the 2 AFC favorites. I think many people would agree that the Chiefs and the Bills are the 2 AFC favorites. Now, maybe you disagree. Maybe you like the Ravens. Maybe you like the Steelers. But you've got the Bills and the Chiefs. They're in the conversation. We know for a fact that the Chiefs are the favorites to get to the Super Bowl out of the conference. The Bills are right up there with every other team that you could have a conversation about. The Chiefs are 9-0. A lot of people believe the Chiefs are the weakest 9-0 team in NFL history, whatever that means. There have been, comparisons to the 2019 Patriots who started 8-0 and then kind of fizzled towards the end and never really got going after that. And Tom Brady famously came out and was miserable with the 8-0 start, and people were wondering why. And then we found out why as the season continued, because that team really actually wasn't good, or at least very good. So the Chiefs have a lot of questions from people because they're finding ways to win. They're 9-0, but a lot of these wins they've had have come down to the wire. And so there are some questions about how good is Kansas City? And look, I'm not going to have that question. I'm sorry. You have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. You have Steve Spags as your defensive coordinator. Their defense is good. I'm not one of those people sitting here going, yeah, but really, how good are the Chiefs? They're 9-0, and they got the best quarterback in football. Maybe not this season, but I think everybody, if you had a draft, you would draft Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback to begin that franchise. So can the Bills defense hold up versus Mahomes? Big question for me. Can they hold up against Mahomes? DeAndre Hopkins has been a great acquisition for Kansas City. He has made an immediate impact, which is difficult when you get traded in the middle of the year to just be, parachuted in and make the difference, make the impact that D-Hop has made. I can only imagine that relationship between Mahomes and Hopkins is just going to get better as the season continues, and Hopkins obviously still has gas left in the tank. Isaiah Pacheco is back at practice this week. He's not expected to play this weekend, but he's back. He's back. And Pacheco is their best running back. I mean, this to me, it really is. This weekend, why it's fun, is this is a big-time tier weekend, right? What are the tiers that we're talking about? We're talking about tier weekend. Top tier, second tier, and we should have a really good feel for the top 4 teams in the AFC, because you've got Pittsburgh playing Baltimore. You've got Kansas City playing Buffalo. Those are your 4 best teams right now in the conference. And so you've got 2 big games this weekend. And we should walk away from Sunday saying to ourselves, well, those are the 2 teams that separated from the other 2 teams. If the Steelers and the Bills win this weekend, I think you walk away from the weekend saying the Bills and the Steelers, they're the favorites right now. If Kansas City finds a way to win again in Buffalo, by the way, if they beat the Bills and they go to 10-0, that train just keeps on moving down the tracks. So this is a big weekend in the AFC because you have 2 huge games between the top 4 teams in the conference, and we should have a really good feel for which team is better than the other. We should have some clarity on the top 4. Let's jump to a super chat. Terry with a $50 super chat. I think I speak for many. Go Bills. How many want the Bills to win on Sunday? Do you want the Chiefs to lose? Or are you just dying to see the Chiefs lose? You don't want them to finish some kind of undefeated season? Who's pro Bills? Who's pro Chiefs this weekend? I would love to know that. How many of you want Bills? I'm rooting against Kansas City. I'm always rooting against Kansas City. Is what it is. They've won enough. So how do you feel? Pro Bills, pro Chiefs. Who are you rooting for? If you had to root for one of those teams. Narragansett Bach Beer. Fantastic. Providence, Rhode Island. 7% ABV. Great stuff. As you see it right here, I've been enjoying it all night. Hopefully you are enjoying your drinks as we talk about week 11. So let me know. Thank you, Terry. Incredible generosity for the $50 super chat. Can't talk enough about your generosity and your support of this program. Thank you so much. So let's see what we got here. Let me surf through. Vitalics, Bills. Bob Bobson, I want the Chiefs to lose so badly. Charlie jumps in, Bills. Anonymous jumps in, Bills. There's a theme. Amy jumps in, Bills, no KC. Not 1, not 2, but 3 thumbs down emojis from Amy. She's out on that idea. Let me see if I can say this correctly. Zellslayer, KC needs to be humbled. Bills in all caps. So I'd say it's official. We don't really have any Chiefs fans in the house. Mike Gray says Bill. So maybe he's not going with the Bills. He just likes somebody by the name of Bill. Fair enough. So it should be a very good weekend with the AFC. Sunday should be a lot of fun. Honestly, it should be a lot of fun with those two games, and we should have a better feel. And the best part is, I want to make sure I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I know the Bills are playing at 4:25. That's the game of the week. Yeah, so that's even better. So, I mean, if you're looking at Sunday, I don't know who you root for personally, but you've got the Ravens at the Steelers at 1:00. So you can watch that game, at least keep an eye on that game. And then at 4:25, you've got Kansas City, Buffalo. So the NFL has played this perfectly. Steelers, Ravens, 1:00, 4:25, Chiefs, Bills. That's a great day. You want to talk about sitting back and enjoying some beverages and watching football? Sunday is going to be a great day. Hopefully both of those games are good. Michael Klemenko says wife's family's from Buffalo. Bills all day. By the way, go Commanders tonight. Go Commanders tonight. Jaden Daniels' numbers have come down a little bit, something to keep an eye on. So we'll see how he continues to perform against tougher defenses. But you got to be happy about Jaden Daniels. I'm not saying he's not going to do well, but he's kind of evened out a little bit now, and we'll see if that continues. So don't forget, throw that thumbs up on YouTube. Help us out. More thumbs means more eyeballs. That's how we sidekick that algorithm. Throw a comment in. Bills, Chiefs, which one do you want? Steelers, Ravens, who you rooting for? How do you feel about the 5 stories we talked about tonight? Don't forget to throw a comment in. And please don't forget to subscribe. Trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by Thanksgiving. So we got 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We need 100 subscribers in the next 2 weeks. If we do that, we hit 5,000. And it's all because of you. Cannot say enough about your support of this show. Everybody go out there and enjoy Thursday Night Football. Enjoy Week 11. We're back next week, 7 o'clock, right here on YouTube with a beverage as we talk the NFL. Until then, be well.